Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And I still don't know why that starts and stops. It just doesn't make any sense. You test it when you can do it any way you want to when you're not live, and it just runs no problem. As soon as you go live, it starts and then it stops, and then I have to start it again. I don't know. Did you ever hear it's not easy being me? You can pretty much take that to the bank. Anyway, did I ever waste about an hour and a half of my life? Boy, I sure did this morning. What a waste of time. I had a doctor's appointment today. I told you how poor the healthcare system is here in Phelps County, Missouri. And we do pronounce it as misery. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. They contacted me. Sue contacted them, had them, refill one of my prescriptions. And anyway, they called me back and said, well, it's time for your wellness check. And I said, well, okay. And I got to thinking, well, it's probably a good idea to come in anyway because of the tinnitus, and I thought I'd ask them about that. So I go ahead and go in there this morning, the appointment was made several weeks ago. And so finally gets around to today, and I go in there, and I'm in there on time, like they asked me to be there 15 minutes early. And by gosh, I was there 15 minutes early. And he was basically on time. I was the first appointment of the day. And had I not insisted on him looking in my ears for the tinnitus or tinnitus, if you prefer, he wouldn't have done it. I mean, I told him I had problems with it, and he goes, well, he just said, there's nothing we can do about that. We can't really, there's no new drugs. There's nothing we can really prescribe or anything. And I mean, if that's true, that's fine. I mean, I get it. There's no point in prescribing something if they don't have anything that's going to work. But he didn't do anything else. He didn't check, he didn't check, listen to my chest. He didn't look at my throat. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do a thing other than look in my ears because I pretty much asked him to look in my ears, Other than that, he didn't do nothing. And, I mean, if you count the fact that he goes, well, according to your chart, you haven't had blood work in a little over a year, so I would recommend you have your blood work. And I said, well, okay, your lab's right here, right? And I said, yeah. He says, yep. And I said, well, I'll just head down there and get that done. And he goes, okay. That was it. What a waste of time. In fact, if you really think about it, if you add up the odds, there's a good chance that I could have had an accident on the way there or the way back, and it would have actually affected my health much more negatively than going to see the doctor. I mean, if I hadn't gone to see the doctor, I'd have been in much less health risk, is what I'm trying to say. What a pitiful thing. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. I hope the rest of you have better luck than that at doctors and things, because they just don't make them like they used to. That's all I can tell you. At least not in this area. I don't know. There's got to be good ones somewhere, but they sure aren't in this area. That's for sure. It's pitiful. Well, guys, I've kind of wimped out on today. I don't have any videos to show you or anything, so we'll just go straight to the comments. It just for some, it's more than it leaves you wanting more. It leaves you wanting a whole lot more. But, they just do it to make money. That's the only reason. They want you to come in for this wellness check so they can bill the insurance company. And he didn't do anything. And how much do you think they're going to bill the insurance company? It's probably $200 or $300 for nothing. Pitiful. Just flat pitiful. Eddie Turner says, good afternoon. Joe Cool says, a new day brings new opportunities. Boy, did it ever. Embrace them with enthusiasm and make the most of every moment. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. Ronald Todd, good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Banks of New Jersey. And then he says, a new song title you might want to ponder. Global warming is freezing me to death. Boy, that's a fact. It truly is. I've said that several times on the channel before, and then people just eat me alive, just like, well, you know better than that. You know that it's really, oh, kiss my grits. If you can't take a joke, you know. Anyway, it's just, you can't fool around with anybody anymore because everybody gets politically, you got to be politically correct or I'm offended. Well, go get offended. That's all I got to say about it. Bill Rhodes, good afternoon, Jerry. Love the show last night. Well, thanks. I hope I didn't offend you in the show last night. Wayne Blitz, good afternoon, Jerry. Hope all is well with everyone. Keep it safe and warm. Gino Hitch, hi, Jerry and friends. Just got home from VA, had a CAT scan. I caught the wife's cold, enjoyed the music last night. Well, take care of that cold there. That's something you don't want to hold on to, so if you caught it, turn it loose. Wavy Gravy, my cousin's cross-eyed girlfriend. I can almost see where this is going. I don't know, but you can tell where it's going to end up. My cousin's cross-eyed girlfriend finally dumped him. He had a feeling that she was seeing someone on the side. You just kind of know it's going there. Daddy Hildebrand, hello everyone, and then C. Willsjack, hello Rosa fans, and then Daddy says, love to play along last night. Thank you for doing my songs. Maybe next week you could do gospel. Just a thought. Well, that's kind of what my plan is. So, yeah, we're planning to do that. Whatever you play will be just fine. Now, I was planning on doing an all-gospel one. I didn't know if I was going to do the all-gospel one next week or if I was going to do that the week after. I'm also going to do one with all original tunes. And then, I don't know, we'll figure out what we do the next time, you know. But I did have those two planned to do eventually. I'm kind of trying to do some sort of a theme each time. The themes may be getting harder after those two. More difficult to come up with. Let's see. Ronald Todd, good afternoon, Daddy. Okay, and then Daddy says she's praying for us. Thank you. Scott Wagner. Excuse me. Hey, Jerry, you mentioned yesterday that you were having some slippage with your Polaris. I have an older Polaris 4x4, and I had some same problem. It was the secondary driven clutch that was bad. Okay, that's an idea. Could be that. That's a possibility. I did have all that off there, though, not too long ago. Trying to remember if I noticed anything. I did have it all off of there. When I took the engine out, I had to pull all that. I didn't notice anything wrong with anything. But it could be that because it has worn out 2 or 3 belts. Of course, that's not too many over the years. You know, it's not worn out that many belts, really, when you think about it. But I'll keep that in mind. That's a good thought. Dottie's got some more prayers there. And then after we kind of went live, I guess you'd say, it says, thank you, Ronald. Okay, talking about back and forth there. So Michael 2X says, hey, Rosemeister. Paul Akers, hey, all. Uh-oh. Scrolled on me. Now I got to find it. Dottie said she doesn't like the cold weather, but she looks like they're in for it in South Carolina. Well, don't feel like the Lone Ranger, girl, because we got plenty of it right here. And then there's Kim says, hey, Rosa fans, great to see y'all. I missed us being together like this. Jerry, great show last night. Thanks for singing. Help is on the way. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for the request. Don Nice. Joe Cool said that's great advice. Let's see. Looking mainly for the question mark type questions. Let's see. Dottie was asking Kim if she changed her username, and I'm pretty sure she did. It's a different name than I remember ever seeing. Don Nice says, Jerry and Friends, great play along last night. Was enjoying every minute. Well, good. Michael 2X, is the pond still an ice rink? Yeah, it is. Oddly enough, there's two little round spots that have like, I don't know, like octopus legs going away from the two little round spots. The round spots are about that big. There's two of them out on the pond. So it almost looks like it's unfrozen those two spots. It's kind of weird, and I there's no reason for it, or at least that I would be aware of in those two spots. They're not in any place like near the spring or near the exit or anything like that. They're just along the side there, and it's kind of weird. I noticed that yesterday. I actually noticed it yesterday, and I saw it again today, and I was just wondering what would cause something like that. It almost looks like they've melted through. I didn't get out of the car to look and see if it actually melted in those spots, but that's what it looks like. Very weird to me. Dottie says, Eddie House. Okay, he's talking about Eddie's wife. Hope she's doing good. And Dottie says, what did the doctor say about your ears? Did he give you medicine? The answer is, he didn't say much, and no. It was just bizarre. He seems like a nice enough fella, but he just doesn't seem like he's, at the risk of sounding really rude and crude, I'm pretty sure I'm smarter than him. Pretty sure. Yeah. He just didn't seem like he's not doing it for me. I may have to see if I can find another flunky in this area, because the doctor I had, I was reasonably satisfied with him. He's a young guy, and he seemed like a pretty much a go-getter, and he seemed decent. For this area, he seemed really good for this area. And for my doctors I've had over the years, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you rated those doctors at maybe an 8 or a 9, you'd rate him at about a 6 or 7. And he was the best so far. Okay. Let's see. Wavy Gravy says, your doctor's appointment reminds me of the time I got to meet the Surgeon General. He offered me a cigarette. Yeah, it's about like it. It's about like that. Done nice. I had 1 degree and having 18 degrees warm up. Let me see what it is right now. We were down in the teens again last night. It's still pretty cold. It's 26, which is still well below freezing of water. Ronald Todd says, your doctor visit is exactly the same thing I get. They do nothing and refer you to blood work and the bill insurance company, $175 or more. Yeah, I bet you. And I was in there all of maybe 15 minutes. I don't even think I was in there that long. I'm giving him credit with 15 minutes. And I wouldn't have been in there 5 minutes had I not insisted on him looking my ears. And the only reason that extended it was because he had to go get the thing to look through my ears. He didn't have it in the room, Oh, my gosh. Bohorn says, hey, everyone. Jerry, down where we live, we hardly ever see the doctor. Usually it's a nurse practitioner. Yeah, I've been to quite a few of those in this area, too. That was my first experience with those, was in this area. And actually, some of those have been better than some of the doctors I've talked to, I can tell you that. Ben Boyd says, maybe a Merle Haggard music theme play along. Yeah, that would be, that's a good idea. I could have individual artist themes. The only problem with doing it that way is that you get nailed on revenue sharing. They nail you. I did those 2 or 3 Marty Robbins songs last night, and they nail me on those. But what are you going to do? Let's see. Bruce Ducker Please pray for my wife as she starts a very strong antibiotic for a cough that she has had since August. Wow. Yes, we will. I promise. Yeah, that's not good. Let's see. Well, it scrolled on me and I can't figure out where I'm at here. Okay. Paul Lanier says, hi, Jerry. Tell Sue that extracting water from clay slurry separates when water freezes. Clear, solid ice gets on top. No fine clay to bother the mixture. Maybe I didn't read that right. Extracting water from clay slurry separates when water freezes. Clear, solid ice gets on top. No fine clay to bother the mixture. Okay, I don't quite understand that one, but let's put it this way: if you're suggesting that she do something while it's frozen, that ain't gonna happen. Not a chance. The grandkids come in the house and they just start going, golly, Grandma, it's hot in here. Why do you have it so hot in here? And Grandma has got the insulated, she's got her insulated pants on. She's got her insulated sweatshirt on with the hood up. And I don't even know if it's tight or not, but definitely the hood's up. And she's going, it's not hot in here. And while I don't think it's actually hot in here, like the grandkids exaggerate that a bit, but on the other hand, it's not cold. It's very warm by comparison to even maybe most people's houses. It's probably like 74 or something like that, And she's freezing. She's got, it's just bad. I've told you before, and you probably think I'm exaggerating, but I promise you, hand on a Bible, I'm not kidding you. I've seen her do this. We'll be, 2 or 3 of us sitting under a shade tree out there under, walnut tree or whatever on a really hot day, like maybe 98-ish or maybe even more than that, 97, something in that kind of temperature range. And she'll walk in under the shade and she'll go, like she's cold. It's like, are you kidding me? You can't be cold. It just doesn't make sense. And I've seen her do it more than once. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Let's see. C. Wilczek says, hey, Jerry, I just retired this year and things are starting to need fixing. Seems like they are just waiting for us to give them attention, knowing that we have more time. Yeah, well, I'm still looking for that extra time. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, I don't disagree with you. Eddie Turner, wife is doing fine, Dottie. Well, that's good to hear. Glad to hear that. Michael 2X, give the Rosemeister lots of likes. Yeah, Rosemeister. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the thumbs up. Yeah, if you would do that, that does help. It really does. And it don't cost you nothing. Just a click of your mouse. More than likely, your mouse has got it. It can handle an extra click. And there's Kim again. I didn't think my name was coming out right on chat here, so I changed the Sky Pony Creations. That's what it's supposed to say. See, I can't read stuff when it's all jammed together like that. Sky Pony Creations. It's a name of my arts and crafts YouTube channel. I've not started yet. I hope to start that soon. Well, that's cool. Well, good luck to you with it. Hope it goes good. Joe 1BL says, yep, doctor's appointments appear very sincere at all the dollars. Yeah, that's the thing they're sincere about, is making sure they sincerely get their money. And then Kim says, I hope to find an apartment soon here in Vegas. Well, good. Let's see. Empress John, spots in pond caused by alien craft taking water samples from the Rosa. Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't surprise me. Or it's some way that Bigfoot gets out there and sucks a hole through there. One of the two. Dottie says, Jerry, you really need to see an audiologist. Yeah. And, of course, did he even suggest that? No, he didn't suggest that. And I told him several times, I said, it's starting to get real annoying. I said, I'm still sleeping fine and all that, but it's really loud. And then, I don't know, this is the only reason I was in there longer, because I started bringing things up, hoping he would, pick up on it and do something, and he didn't. I just told him the sad story about my ears. I said, I've only had really two big issues with my ears. I said, when I was 18, I dove into, or I said 18, but I said when I was a young person, like 18 to 20 something in that time frame, I said, I dove into a swimming pool and I heard and both ears, blew both eardrums out of both ears. That was the last thing I heard. And then I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of the pool very easily. And it took months for that to heal back. And while that was healing back, I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience where you burst your eardrums, but both of them were gone. And so as they were healing back, I would have moments of supersonic hearing. I mean, like, way better than you could ever believe you could hear. Like, as an example, by that time it was winter time, and by the time they were healing back, and like I'd have the car heater on, and it'd be fine, just be fine. I could hear it down there. It'd be just normal, kind of, and then all at once it would jump right up in my ear, and it would sound like you turned that, like from if you were talking volume, it sounded like you turned it from like a 1 or a 2 up to about a 9, and it would be right in my ear. It was like, it was unbelievable, and that happened more than once. I mean, where sounds got that loud, and geez, I was hoping, boy. I want good hearing, but I don't want it that good. I mean, you'd be surprised how different you can hear. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but man, that was bizarre. It truly was bizarre. And then I told him about 8 or 10 years ago, I had Meniere's disease in this left ear. I've lost a little bit of hearing. I said, that's the only 2 ear issues I've ever had that maybe are connected to the tinnitus. And based on the research I've done and watching the videos and stuff, I don't think tinnitus really has that much to do with your actual ears. It's got more to do with nerves and things that are connected to your brain. Now, it may be, I think it is connected to your hearing, but it's more of a brain thing than it is a actual ear thing. He looked at my ears. He said, both of them look fine. He says, you got scar tissue where your eardrums burst. He said, I can see that. But he says, other than that, your ears look fine. And then the only last thing that I'll just tell you all, in case, not that you give a rip, because you probably don't, but I was the last person in our division of people at Southwestern Bell to be tested for hearing. And so when I went in for my hearing test, I was the very last person, because I was on a special project. And anyway, so I went in for my hearing test, and the gal that was giving the test, she goes, golly, she says, I can't believe this, but we've tested over 400 people, and you're the only person that has no hearing loss at all. And I thought that was amazing, considering the way I grew up, because my dad had that lawn service. And I can remember as a kid, thinking, man, this can't be good for my hearing. Because, you're driving this, we had 2 different tractors. One of them was called a Yazoo and one was called a Howard. The Howard was just a giant Yazoo is what it really amounts to. And both of them had giant engines sitting right in front of you. Like 18, 20 horse Wisconsin 2-cylinder engines, with those big mufflers popping out right here. These were big industrial lawn tractors, and they didn't have any quieting effect, and nobody back in the 70s or 60s and 70s wore hearing protectors, And I would run those things all day long, especially during the summer. When I'd be out of school, I'd be running those things all day long. And apparently it didn't hurt my hearing, but anyway, so for what good it good to tell the doctor any of that? That's the only reason I was in there as long as I was. He was probably thinking, will you shut up so I can go to the next guy and collect my $200? It's pitiful, just pitiful. Let's see. Paul Lanier says, clay is what I used to do left hand part-time. Okay. Still not sure where we're going with that. I don't know. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. Right now, I'm not getting that. Gino Hitch says, Jerry, the wife took Dramamine for her ear ringing. Well, I might try that. I do have some of that. It's worth maybe trying. Ronald Todd says, sunny and clear here today, 17 degrees for the high. Well, we're going to definitely beat that. I would bet we'll get above freezing probably. Yeah, it's already up to 27 since we've been talking, so at least it's gone up a little bit. Let's see. Paul Lanier says, clay from your cave, silk clay for pottery making for her kiln. Yeah, I get what you're talking about. I'm not sure about that freezing thing and all that and what that's supposed to do with anything. Like I said, if it's got anything to do with the cold at all and you're expecting her to go out and say, well, you can separate it easier now because it's frozen, there ain't not a chance. Not one flipping piece of a chance. Because if it's got anything to do with the cold, she ain't got nothing to do with it. Yeah, so anyway, even if it does work better, she ain't going to go do that, I can tell you. Wavy gravy. The last time I saw my doctor, he said he really enjoys examining me. When I asked him why, he said, because it's good practice in case I have to do an autopsy. Bill Rhodes, give me some music to get some blood work. Give me some music to get some blood work. Okay. Wow. So is that what you're doing today? Getting some blood? Well, I had some blood work too, so I didn't get no music with it. Let's see. Eric Sandell has a retracted message. Bill Webb says, good afternoon. And Bill Rhodes says, Jerry, what I was trying to say was maybe Sue should get some blood work. Well, yeah, she's had a lot of that. Like I told you, she doesn't look too forward to anything to do that because they always have, like I said, they'll stick her 8 or 10 times trying to get to her vein, and they can never do it. They can never do it. And you can even tell them ahead of time. You're going to have to get the the cardiologist. No, that's not the right word. What's that word for the person that knocks you out? I forget it now. I said it yesterday, I think. Well, anyway, they always had to get anesthesiologist. I said, you're going to have to get the anesthesiologist because you're not going to be able to hit her veins. And they look at you like, yeah, I've been doing this. I know what I'm doing. And they stab her and they stab her and they stab her and they stab her. And, and they try the other arm and they stab her and they finally go, oh, I guess we'll go get the anesthesiologist. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. It drives you nuts. It's absolutely pitiful. The healthcare here sucks canal water to the exponential end is all I can tell you. Let's see. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, what I was trying to... Okay, I read... Okay. Sky Pony Creations, that's Kim, says... Okay, she's talking to Dottie. And then see, Eric's says, it was minus 26, minus 14 Fahrenheit this morning, where in Helsinki area, the sun is heating already, so it was minus 14 C in the afternoon. Now it is 9 p.m., so it is minus 18 C, and the moon is shining brightly. Well, at least you got the moon. Yeah, those are cold temperatures, that's for sure. We're supposed to get in the negative numbers again. Like I said, we got our coldest this year was minus 16. That's pretty darn chilly for this area. Let's see. The spoken song says, back in my band playing days, we used to say to the crowd, We had 5 requests, but we're staying anyway. Yeah, we say the same thing, you know. We got a request, but we're going to play anyway. Thank you. Dottie Hildebrandt says, my uncle had ringing in his ears so bad he couldn't get any relief. Sadly, he took his life. Ugh. Boy, that's horrible. That's just horrible. Yeah, that's very sad. And with that, it looks like we're at the end of the comments here. So I don't have any more for you right now. If I could get motivated, I'd try to go into my archives and find some kind of video to put out for this weekend. But I'll tell you what, I don't know, if these crazy temperatures and this crazy snow, I'm not as motivated as I used to be. Now, if I didn't have any firewood, which I do have, but if I didn't have any firewood, I'd go out in this and cut firewood. But nothing's making me go out there, so so why do I want to do that? Dottie says, anesthesiologist. That's right. That's exactly it. But they always have to go get that person for Sue. I mean, it's been done countless times because she had all that, you know, colon rectal surgery and all that, you know, cancer stuff and treatments and all that stuff. And she was getting blood all the time. And she did end up getting a port also. But, yeah. You can't tell them. You can't tell them. They just look at you and like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Just shut up. You know, that's pretty much the attitude you get for the most of the time. Rick Casada says the Flat Earth Society says they wouldn't call their trip under the world and back a round trip because, well, you know. Let's see. Kim says, Jerry, the healthcare system is okay, but not great, just like Georgia. Doctors are quacks here. I seriously telling you, I have not met a good doctor here other than, I mean, the younger guy that I had that went somewhere else, that's probably why he went somewhere else, is because, you know, he's surrounded by a bunch of morons. And even he wasn't great. I mean, he was just, like I said, a 6 or a 7. But that's high marks compared to where I'd rank the rest of them. So anyway, guys, thanks for being here. We will see you on Monday, if not before. Take care.